Hello and welcome to the Capital Games Movie Club. I am The Wiz. Today I'll be reviewing the 1960 drama comedy The Apartment, starring Jack Lemmon, Shirley MacLaine, and Fred MacMurray, written by Billy Wilder and A.L. Diamond, and directed by Billy Wilder. I've been wanting to watch a lot more Billy Wilder films for a while, and it of course comes down to when I decide to watch them. I saw Some Like It Hot about a few years ago and really liked it. And you know what? I just remembered I watched Sabrina a long time ago too. I forgot about Sabrina. I saw Sabrina before the remake came out, the one with Harrison Ford and Julie Ormond and Greg Kinnear. So I saw that before the remake. I'm kind of glad I did, because if I just saw the remake, I probably wouldn't have liked it. I wouldn't have bothered. From what I have not seen a lot of his films, but Some Like It Hot was a lot of fun and a very funny, good movie. And so with that, I was excited to find out exactly how, I believe what his, I would have to say is probably his most liked. Well, no, Sunset Boulevard is probably his most liked. But one of his most liked movies. So that's The Apartment. So why don't we just get right down to the review? Basically, I walked into this kind of blind. I knew what the story was about. It's a story about a guy who works as an insurance clerk in a big company, and he wants to move up, and the way he's trying to move up is to allow the higher executives to use his apartment to hook up with other women while their wives don't know about it. And this leads to this person, played by Jack Lemmon, to let his boss, played by Fred MacMurray, use his apartment to have an extramarital affair. It turns out, around the time during the film, that the person that he's having the extramarital affair with is a person that he himself is falling for. I believe it was a elevator operator played by Shirley MacLaine. What's what I knew about the film, really, that it was a romance and a drama and a comedy, and it was kind of like a love triangle kind of thing. That's what I thought before I watched the movie. And I thought this was going to be a lot like Some Like It Hot, which is a very screwball type comedy. Ooh, was I wrong? I was kind of wrong there. There are funny moments, and there is some good comedy in it, but I really was not prepared for how serious the movie gets. I won't get into it right now. I'll get into it in spoilers. I was pretty stunned toward the direction that the movie gets to in this. Let me go through performances real quick. Jack Lemmon is very good in this movie. He plays the same type of he really plays the same type of characters in most movies that he's in. Like The Odd Couple, like Some Like It Hot. He's the likable, kind of nebbish, kind of losery kind of guy that you can't help but kind of root for and kind of like. Kinda. He does play that type of character really well, or either that, or that's just who Jack Lemmon is, because he plays it so effortlessly. Actually, yeah, he's actually a very likable character in this movie, despite the fact that a lot of the things he's doing is, well, not unlikable, but it's something that if I had a friend who was telling me what he was doing and this was it, I would have a lot less respect for him. Like, it was I can't imagine being in a situation where you're using your own home as a means for your bosses to hook up with side chicks. I think that is that's something else. I don't think, if I had a friend like that, I'd just be like, dude, what are you doing? It's like, what are you doing? That is ridiculous. But I guess because of the time that it's set in, it kind of makes sense. Not really, now that I come to think of it. I don't think that makes too much sense. But, yeah. Not much to say about that, other than that Jack Lemmon plays the character very well. and he plays him to be very likable. So I guess that's a reason why he got nominated for Best Actor that year in a leading role. So that's good to know. Let me go into the next one, Shirley MacLaine. You know, I have never seen Shirley MacLaine in a role like this where she is not just the love interest, but kind of the cutesy, lovable love interest in the movie. I'm used to terms of endearment. I'm used to be fair, I'm used to her as an older actress. Okay, so that was kind of surprising to see. And she plays Fran, the elevator operator, very well in this too. Like, she is very cute and lovable in the movie. As the central person who's going through the most drama in the movie, I definitely felt for the character as well. She plays the performance very well. And it's hard, I'll be honest, it is hard for me to really feel for somebody in her situation who is a young woman who is falling for and sleeping with a married man, who is expecting him to do the right thing, even though inherently you meeting him was the wrong thing to begin with. The character is very well written, and she performs it very well to a point where you kind of forget that's what's going on, and you still kind of sympathize with her throughout the entire film with what she's going through. So, yeah, I definitely liked her performance in this movie. The one that she also got an Academy Award nomination for Best Actress. The other one that got an Academy Award nomination for Best Supporting Actor was Jack Lemmon. He plays Dr. Dreyfus, who is the Jewish neighbor to Jack Lemmon in this movie. At first, he was kind of annoying, but I ended up liking him as the movie went on. I won't get into exactly why that is, because that deals with spoilers. But I will say that his performance is very good in this as well, for the limited spurts of time that he's in there. The other performance I want to note is Fred MacMurray, who plays Jack Lemmon's boss. He's kind of a typical type of boss character, full of himself, in great amounts of power, takes advantage of the situation he's in, kind of arrogant, and he plays that well. I get it. Not a performance that I was particularly amazed by, but he does the trick. He's supposed to be the guy that you don't particularly like, and for good reason, because he's causing the most problems for all the characters involved, whether it is the female love interest in Shirley MacLaine's character, to what's going on with CC Baxter, which is Jack Lemmon's character. You're not meant to like him, and he plays that role pretty well in that as well. So, yeah, a decent performance. Not the best, but it's a good performance. The highlight in this film is the writing, I would say, in The Apartment, and mainly because the screenplay starts off as one type of movie when you begin the movie, and my expectation was a screwball comedy with a little bit of drama, and the movie morphs into something completely different. Not completely different, but it does morph into a different movie as the movie goes along, because I was still expecting by the halfway point for it to be a lighter, more slapsticky affair to what I'm used to with a lot of romance movies at the time, and also romance movies now when are romantic comedies. There's a lot of happenstance, a lot of strange things happening, just the usual romantic comedy stuff that I'm used to. And the movie doesn't go in that direction, and I think it's for the better in this movie. Not that the comedy parts and the things that were going on in the movie weren't good in the beginning, they were, but I guess the point I need to get across is this. When you do something like this is not like a twist. I guess it kind of is a plot twist, but I don't consider it a plot twist. But when a movie goes from being one thing and then morphs into another, it is hard to maintain a specific flow to where an audience is not whiplashed or feels like it is being taken for a ride in a bad way. And The Apartment doesn't feel like either. It is gradual because it does hint towards certain things happening, but the way that it does it with the screenplay is masterfully done. It is actually really good. For, I would say, comedy dramas, this would probably be something that if someone were to write a comedy drama or something along those lines, that I would have them watch this film to see how to do it really well. It really is a testament to show how to morph and blend specific genres without it seeming like it's a hard right turn to make that change. It was very well done. And then the direction of the film by Billy Wilder is pretty good. Billy Wilder is a director for the few movies I've seen of his. I wouldn't say they're very well directed, but his writing is where his strength is. But that being said, the scenery involving the office building, the bars, the apartment itself is important the way it's shot, because it is made to look homely and unassuming to a certain extent, but comfortable, and it fits that very well in the movie. But when it comes to the direction of the film, it's good, but it's not particularly noteworthy. I don't have room to complain, really, but again, I really don't think that direction so far, and I might be proven wrong if I watch another one of Wilder's directed movies, I don't think that the directing is his strongest suit. But with that being said, I mean, it's not a bad directing job at all with the movie. So, like, I'm not going to complain about it because it actually is. It is good for what it is. It just isn't what I would consider a masterful or something that I would give to somebody as a really well directed movie. It's fine. I don't know if it would be kind of harsh to just call it satisfactory, because there are a couple of things that the movie does that, you know, it takes a skilled director to do, such as with timing and the way certain scenes are shot in the movie. But it's not something that I would say is a masterfully directed film. It's a well-directed film. But, you know, I still think Billy Wilder's best thing, what he does best is writing, in my eyes, at least. Okay, so why don't we get into spoilers for The Apartment? If you haven't seen The Apartment, you can stop now and come back. And we're going to start spoilers in The Apartment in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay, so I really liked The Apartment. It did surprise me when I was watching it. I was expecting this to be a screwball comedy with a little drama, like I mentioned in the non-spoiler review. And it was that way for, I would say, the first hour. And then suicide rears its ugly head in this movie, which I was kind of surprised by when I started watching this. In the middle of the movie, when Shirley MacLaine and MacMurray's character are in Jack Lemmon's apartment, basically, he's trying to convince her character to, I don't know, still be with him, even though he's married. She did hint at certain things, like that she was about to do what she did. But the fact that they went through with it is something that really surprised me in this movie, especially with how Jack Lemmon caught or found out that she tried to commit suicide, which is coming home from a bar and with another woman. It really surprised me that the movie went to that dark of a corner. The thing that I was worried about when that happened was that either the movie was going to get too serious, then maybe the twist was Shirley MacLaine's character dies, essentially, or they wouldn't be able to thread the needle to where the suicide attempt doesn't drag the film down into a very dark corner, and it's really hard to claw its way back up to have much lighter, funnier comedy when after that happens. And I gotta say that the film does a really good job trying to, like, threading that needle to a certain extent. And it's written in an adult way, because I think a lot of movies now would over-dramatize the suicide attempt. Like, for example, you never see C.C. Baxter or Jack Lemmon's character get angry, really, with Shirley MacLaine's character, what she did. He feels sorry for her, and he knows she's in a delicate situation, and he treats her with respect, and he treats her pretty well, and to a point where he pities her, sure, but he does what I think most adults would do in that situation. I think in that situation where they wouldn't want to try to upset her more because of what she just went through, or the fear of maybe what she might do in retaliation. So he's very even-keeled despite being in a predicament, I would say. And they did that scene really well, I think, in that whole section of the movie. They did it really well. Because, like I said, a lot of other movies, especially now, would really over-dramatize that. And they didn't. They made it they gave it the levity it needed, but it not only felt realistic in the way that they were doing it, aside from the fact that she didn't go to a hospital, but we'll gloss over that, but they still remain true to the character, I would think, because I would have never, if C.C. Baxter or Jack Lemmon's character were to get overly dramatic in that circumstance, when he was never overly dramatic throughout the entire movie, when he was getting stepped on and when his heart was getting broken and stuff like that, it would have felt off. Some might have been understanding of it, but it really would have felt kind of off in this movie. With that scene specifically, which is the second act where the suicide happened and Cece is nursing her back to health, I think it was really well done. I was very surprised by it, because I was surprised by the fact that they had a suicide in this movie, a suicide attempt in this movie, but I was also surprised they were able to thread the needle to not only give it the levity it deserves, but also sprinkle in some comedy after the fact when she's starting to get better. Because, again, most other movies would probably make this a little too serious. I definitely like the ending of the movie more than I thought I would. The ending basically, again, this is I think a testament to how great the writing is. Other romantic movies, dramas, comedies, would have the heroine realizing that she's in an untenable relationship that's not going to work, and the man's not worth it, and she'll go running to C.C. Baxter, and they kiss, and they fall in love, and da-da-da-da. And some of that happens. She does leave the boss, and then runs to C.C. Baxter's apartment. But the fact that they didn't go for the cheap ending, which is the kiss, the hug, the embrace, the I love you, and this and that, and they kept at it, they kept the characters true to what they are, I thought was a very well done move at the end of the movie. Yes, of course, C.C. Baxter professes his love to her, but she doesn't. Even though he says I think she says, just cut the cards already, which I thought was nice and was adorable in a sense. It was really the right move in this movie, because I think if they would have done the standard route, it would have felt cheap. But even though in a sense it was the standard route where the heroine realizes that she has a better man that she can go to, and goes to that better man that you're supposed to feel more for than the man she was with, they didn't do the standard thing, which I which I liked. I definitely liked that they did that in this movie. Yeah, like the writing is fantastic in this movie. Like I'm thinking about it more and more, and I'm picking apart more things that while trying to find things I don't like, I'm picking up more things that I like in this movie. So yeah, like I also liked how they didn't bombard the fact that the boss is pretty much a philanderer. You don't learn until halfway through the film that the thing that he is doing to the main heroine is something he's done numerous times before, including his own secretary. Ugh. God, that's terrible. So yeah, I'm trying to figure out more stuff that I didn't like, but I'm not coming up with it, really. So yeah, that's it, really. I definitely enjoyed this movie. So let's get into the my final thoughts on The Apartment. This is a very good romantic drama comedy movie. Very good. Do I like this more than Some Like It Hot? No, but they are two very different films, I think. I definitely enjoyed the performances of Shirley MacLaine in this movie, and I like Jack Lemmon as well. The screenplay is very good, like very well done for a romantic drama comedy. And the fact that they went in different directions that I wasn't expecting, and they stuck the landing like very well without really not a hitch at all, I thought was really good in this movie. Like I can't say how much I like the writing on this film enough. I am going to give this movie 4 stars. I don't usually give 5 stars for movies when I first watch them. That usually is something I develop into and realize that, hey, that's a 5-star movie. I should probably get a 5 stars. This could be one of those that has it, but I'm going to give it 4 stars. I did like the performance of Jack Lemmon, but Shirley MacLaine, I think, is the star of the movie. She's excellent. I think she has the best performance. She is the most charming and the most likable of the characters, and when she goes through what she goes through, you really invest and you feel for her in this movie. 4 stars for The Apartment. Very good movie. I thoroughly enjoyed it, and I think I bought this at a sale before Christmas, so I'm going to look forward to that and probably look at the special features and maybe watch it again. We'll see. I usually have a topic that I want to discuss, but I'm going to forego that this week because we're going to talk a little more of what's going to happen after the new year with this podcast. If you already listened to the Capital Games podcast on the podcast feed, first off, thank you for listening. Secondly, you know what we're going to start doing on the Capital Games feed and on the Capital Games YouTube channel. And that's basically, we're going to start doing more constant content. So instead of doing 2 hours or 1 hour and a half podcasts every week, we're just going to cover things as they come. And that's for the gaming podcast. The movie podcast, which is the side companion piece for this podcast, I'm going to do the same thing. And I'm going to do it on the YouTube channel and on the feed as well for the podcast. So what's going to happen is when we started this, I was thinking this would be a nice, cute companion piece that we'd have with the game podcast. And it's just something that we can talk about differently, especially since I'm a big movie mark. And Zero, not really, but he does like movies. But it was interesting getting the point of view from somebody who isn't as big of a movie fan as I am, and to see what things that he likes. So hopefully when he returns, we'll get to do that more. But we're going to go solo for now still. So what I'm going to do basically is, instead of having the podcast every Thursday and just have an episode every Friday, I'm going to do the same thing with the movie podcast as I am doing with the gaming podcast, which is basically we're going to do more content where I will probably review more movies. That's what I hope to do in this. I'm going to review more movies, and then when stories come up in the movie industry or sometimes in the TV industry, along those lines as well, I will discuss it on the feed, and I'll discuss it on the YouTube channel right away, probably in a day's time. That's what the plan is right now for the movie podcast and for the gaming podcast. And, that's it with that. The only thing that's changing, I'd say, with the podcast in the New Year's is that we're going to have more of it. And it's going to be in smaller chunks than having just one big chunk every week and us breaking up on the YouTube channel. So that's what I'm hoping to do on this one. So if you are still watching and still listening and you enjoy it, thank you for listening. And we're going to have more for you as the new year comes. All right. So we are at the end of the podcast. Before I go, we are going to talk about the movie we're going to discuss next. I was going to say next week, but next, well, it's going to start next week. So I guess it's kind of true. So the Sight and Sound Top 100 Films of All Time was last month, and I talked about it at pretty good length when that happened last month. But what I did say that I wanted to do when it came to the movie podcast and the Sight and Sound 100 is I wanted to see a lot more of those movies. And that is what I'm going to aim to do for this month. It's not going to be the only thing I do, but definitely for this month, I am going to start watching some of the movies that made this top 100 of all time from Sight and Sound. And the first movie that we are going to watch together is The Leopard, starring Burt Lancaster, Claudia Cardinale, and Alain Delon. It is directed by Luciano Visconti. I believe it's an Italian film. I'm fairly certain it's an Italian film. It is considered a classic film. It's on the Criterion Collection. It's not on the Criterion Channel, so I'm going to have to probably rent that on YouTube. But it is something that I've been interested in, and I've wanted to watch. And I am going to look forward to watching, since I'm also a Burt Lancaster fan. I do like Burt Lancaster a lot, actually. So that's going to be interesting to watch him in this movie. So tune in next week where I am going to discuss and review The Leopard, starring Burt Lancaster, Claudia Cardinale, and Alain Delon, and directed by Luciano Visconti. For the Capital Games Movie Club, I am the Wiz. Enjoy your new year. Be safe, and we'll see you next week. Bye.